What's up, America? Neil here with Juggle Farms Academy. Thanks for watching. Guys, I want to apologize up front. I'm doing this by myself because we're going to be doing a little live shooting here, and Kim is pregnant, for those that follow us, and she can't be in the range right now. So, I apologize that the camera work isn't as stellar as it may normally be, and we can't move the camera too much. But what I want to talk about today are mechanics, okay? And how they apply in shooting. So, I explain this a lot in classes, but obviously you're not in the class. But we talk a lot about mechanics. And while we're standing around in a group, a lot of times I'll grab a magazine or something and I'll just toss it randomly to somebody without telling them it's coming, and they go and catch it. Or they don't catch it, but at least they try. And when that happens, I say to them, hey, how much thought did you put into catching that? And the answer is, of course, virtually none. Why? Because we've been catching things since we were knee-high to a duck, and why would this be any different? It's just a reaction. You see something coming at you like that, it's not an obvious threat. It's not like I threw a rock at you and you're trying to get out of the way. Something's coming and you want to catch it, okay? And it becomes a process, right? The mechanics of catching that is not something that has to be broken down in the mind, thought through, and like, okay, my hand here, my hand here. If I did that to a little kid, I'm not going to catch it, right? They're still working through the mechanics. And that's what shooting is all about. Getting those responses, that mechanic response, so that when I go to draw this gun, that is not there's not a lot of processing that I'm doing to do this. It's just that for whatever reason, the decision's been made that I need to get my gun out, and it happens. No different than if you threw me a ball and I caught it. And that only comes from repetition, repetition, doing it over and over and over. Now, word of caution. Any legitimate instructor will tell you that one of the biggest issues in training folks is that people, and it's not necessarily because they got training from a bad trainer, they got no training at all. They saw something on YouTube, or wherever the case was, they mimic something, and then they think that they've got that training. Like if you watch a video on how to do this, this is an example of something you need to get trained on. This is not in place of, if that makes sense. So they have this training scar or this issue, and then we as instructors have to try to fix that, except they've been doing this many times for years and years and years, and I have hours or days, right? So that's a big ask to try to fix. And it's all going to come down to them learning the proper procedure, the proper mechanics, right? The proper mechanics of drawing this gun out and presenting it, and then doing it over and over and over and over and over, the proper way, okay? So if you're going to get started in shooting, please, for all things holy, find an instructor in your area. It's not I'm not selling you. 99.999% of everybody who watches this is never going to come to our class. Too far away, whatever the case is, and I get that. I'm just saying, as a general deal, get some training from a competent instructor. So, the bottom line here is when it comes to mechanics, when it comes to the draw of this gun, and finding our sights, focusing on our front sight, pressing that trigger properly, all of that becomes almost as if it's a reaction, right? I've done it so many times it becomes a reaction. To the point where what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out, and I have a target down here again. You bear with me, I'm just doing this by myself. It is a regular sheet of paper, right? On an IPSC cardboard paper, and you're going to see there's no rounds in it yet. I haven't shot it at all today. And what I'm going to do is, keeping my eyes on you, I'm going to draw forward and fire around. And I'll care to bet that it's going to hit somewhere in center mass. Not because I'm some trick shooter or some magic shot, but because the mechanics of drawing out and coming forward, 98% of that shot, that lining up my sights, is coming from the mechanic of just coming out onto my target. The last, 5, 3, whatever percent it is cleaned up by obviously focusing on my sight. So if I'm not saying this as in you should be a point shooter. What I'm saying is that just the mechanics over and over of drawing the gun out properly. If I were to shoot right now, if there was a magic bolt that came out of here, it would go straight into center mass. So let's test this theory. All right, so behind the camera here, coming up to the target. Here we go. As you can see, no marks on the target. And then we'll back it all the way back up. So we're about 5 to 6 yards, give or take, from the target. And the temperature is a dropping today. All right. Let's do this. So what I'm going to do, draw out, fire the round, and then go with the camera, and we'll walk over and see what happens. All right. Let's see what we got here. There we go. So there's dead center, a little to the right. Okay, the bottom line here is that's obviously a well-placed shot, even if you aimed it. Short and to the point here. It's not a long video on here, but what I'm trying to emphasize hopefully came across, and that is that when we learn the proper technique, the proper method, we are constantly going through that motion, the mechanics of whatever that is, whether we're bringing our rifle up, we're drawing our pistol, we're transitioning, we're reloading, whatever it is that we do, we want to do it to the point where it's basically a conditioned response. Just like when I threw something to you, you just automatically caught it. When you draw your gun, you just automatically go there. The reason I'm showing you this is, again, I'm not talking about point shooting. What I'm saying is, just from my mechanics of lining up, drawing the gun out properly and presenting it out, okay, just from that alone is going to give me an accurate shot. Accurate enough. Then we add the fact that we're actually using proper fundamentals, sight picture, sight alignment, focusing in that front sight, and then we're really rocking it home, okay? So that's going to take time, you guys. If you're new to shooting, just want to know kind of where you're going, this is what we want to do. Once we get those techniques down properly from proper instruction, just hammering them home over and over and over until it becomes a conditioned response. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Again, did the best I can by myself. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. As you guys know, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We put all our premium content on Patreon. We have exclusive contact on Patreon. We do monthly targets on Patreon and drills. In addition to that, we also, on the highest level, give you credits towards classes, almost like a layaway plan, and you get video conferencing with me once a month, so kind of a double bonus there. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.